My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's...
Cheese Week.
Cheese!
This week is both, not to make light of it, but it does feel like the Simpsons episode where Homer walks into that shop and he gets cursed frogurt.
Yes.
Like, it's like, woohoo! Boo. No, dole.
Yes.
It's like...
Yes, exactly. It's the you get frogurt. That's good. Yeah, sodium benzoate. That's bad. Yes. But you get the choice of toppings. That's good. The toppings are also cursed. That's bad.
Yeah. It's like, yay, we get cheese. That's good.
Yes. It's very much...
Yeah, and we lose Cal.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's more than bad, but it's bad.
And I just wanted to touch on that. So, coincidentally, today I went to something called a death cafe, which sounds really odd, but it's a movement about normalizing the discussion of death. And I'm sorry, you came here for a lighthearted podcast, but, this is something I think that's important for all of us, is that, we're in a space where we're watching a TV show where, someone who's very beloved on it has died. And it's loss and it's grief and, it's what all will happen to all of us at some point. But something we don't do well is talking about death, and it can make the experience of dying, the experience of having someone who has died, very lonely and very confusing. There's a lot that people don't know about death and dying and, what happens and what happens afterwards and how we move with grief. And it's something that I wanted to touch on because I don't want to forget Cal.
Huh.
It's very easy in these situations and in day-to-day as well, if you come across someone, to avoid, that person who's lost a loved one, who's, who may be dying,
I think it's awkward in some ways for people around the show, because I think there's been, it's been the obvious thing to sort of think about. First of all, is that it's understandable that people want to make sure that Cal's obviously respected and
she is
shown with, but but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
She's respected and shown with love and grace and treated with that by the audience. I don't think that's ever been a question. I think that it can be really difficult for some people in terms of like tiptoeing around, and then Cal's not there anymore. But I think, and we sort of touched a little bit on this last week, but now I think we're touching a little bit more, which is that last week was probably the most vibrant and with it that we'd seen Cal in this whole series, possibly across everything. She was, last week's episode, she was really on.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased personally that that's sort of, for me, going to be the last image of her on Bakeoff, is that really bright, wonderful person that we got to see who was with it and on.
And I think one of the beautiful lessons we can take away from this is that death can happen at any time. And it's a shock and it's terrible. Like, it's a bigger tragedy to most people when someone as young as Cal, as full of life as Cal, is lost so soon. And what we would say before her time. Because each life is a story, and we'd like to think that everyone's story gets to play out to its fullest. And death is that kind of end of that story, but that end affects the stories of those around them and their story. So what I want to say, a lot of people go, oh, hug your loved ones closer and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fine, do that. But then you can also look at some practical stuff too, and that's like advanced care planning, making sure you've got a will in, talking to your loved ones about, what your wishes may be. It might be uncomfortable, and it's perfectly fine. It's not a joyous kind of thing. I mean, I've heard of some people talking about some really cool and crazy shit that they want to do at the end of their life. Like, I'd like to have always look on the bright side of life played, that kind of thing. But yeah, I just want to really touch on that, and to say, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling grief watching this but thinking, oh, this is just someone that's on the TV, your grief is valid and it's okay to feel like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're not alone.
Exactly. And there's no way to transition out of that part of the conversation.
Yes, there is. Cheese. Cal would be going, come on, Chris, get to the important part, get to the cheese.
I mean, I've been wanting
I've never met her, but I'm sure that's what she'd be saying.
I've been wanting to get to the cheese. So,
Yes.
so
Cheese week.
I mean, the best way to get there is, I think, Mel's little let's talk about cheese homage to salt and pepper. And look, Mel, that was probably, and we love you and you're amazing last week, but probably close to the highlight for Mel.
Yes.
Was singing Salt and Pepper at the start. Not a finest week.
Look, and we've seen this happen in Bakeoff's past where, someone's star baker one week and they're gone the next. And this is the second time it's happened this season. It's
now,
not...
I'm also going to open by sort of the recap part by talking about the fact that I enjoyed a really critical part of this episode that I haven't enjoyed for the whole series. We got real, genuine critiques.
Yeah.
We got the judges not just saying it was wonderful and fantastic and, there was a minor problem, but overall it's amazing. Instead, we got, especially in that first challenge and in the technical as well, we got genuine critiques, which made it feel real.
Light and shadow and offering it with, a lot of care.
And like one of the things that Darren said when he was on the podcast was about this idea of, you don't rip people down, but by the same token, you have to be honestly critiquing them and trying to give them tips on how to improve.
Yeah.
And I think they did. We've talked about it a little bit. We thought the balance had gone too far
the other way.
The saccharine way.
Yeah, it became toxic positivity essentially,
a little bit, yeah.
Oh, not to that extent, but
No.
it was heading in that direction. I'm just glad that they've kind of straightened, like pulled themselves back on course. What's it called?
So
titrated it. When they talk about that whole thing of getting to the moon, like they have to correct the course.
Yes, exactly. You got to fire the boosters once, so you end up on a figure eight trajectory back.
Yes.
Otherwise, you end up with Tom Hanks running out of oxygen and
Kevin Bacon,
and everyone's cold, and Kevin Bacon yelling, "I stirred the damn tanks." Anyway, Apollo 13 reference for anyone out there. Apollo 13.
Oh yeah, nerding it up.
Are the roses blooming in Texas? No, I don't have the measles. Anyway, let's get on with it. We got the sentence. Now, actually, before we get into the signature, there's one more really important thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Molly.
Yes!
Her whole chuck some cheese on it thing, which is a little bit Robert throw some bacon at it.
Yes.
But Molly's example of throw some cheese on it was
to
really
make it better.
weird. Now, she's like, you got a bit of a dodgy pizza? Throw some mozzarella on it. What the fuck do you think's on a pizza?
No, Molly, we have to understand, Molly might come from an area where they have a cheeseless pizza. This girl might have been raised in a very
Kristie.
Yeah.
She used goat's cheese and blue cheese earlier.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they have mozzarella just lying about to pop on a pizza.
No, I think it does. I definitely think that's exactly what this means. She made blue cheese canapes. Right? She made blue cheese canapes. I think she can find the mozzarella
on it. Look, she's 17
16
now.
in there.
16
in
there, 17 now. I admire
her. She's completely going to run a CWA.
She is the queen of the CWA in making. She's like the protege queen. She'll be the youngest CWA queen you've ever seen.
You know when you get
since Violet Lou Little
in 1927. What a year! Good old Violet Lou Little.
Yeah.
What a queen she was too. Scandal as she showed some knee, but I think it's really... I actually think... when you see those organisations that decide they're going to make a comeback when they've been, out of the spotlight for a bit...
Yeah.
And they decide to modernise...
Yes.
Yeah, Molly's going to modernise the CWA.
Oh, yeah.
Going to revolutionise the CWA.
The next CWA cookbook will all be in emojis.
Yeah, no. You know what's coming?
And what?
You know what's coming? She's going to turn it into, when the...
A TikTok.
No.
CWA TikToks.
No. She loves the youth.
Okay.
So we know that they all like getting out there for the B&B or whatever it is.
B&S ball.
B&S ball. I can't remember. I was trying.
You are a city boy.
I am a city boy.
I am a city girl, but yeah.
So B&S balls.
Yes.
but she's going to take the CWA to the B&S ball out of the back of a ute.
On a flat
Everyone
truck.
else is out there. Everyone else is out there. You know, they're getting drunk and they're all singing. She's going to have a flatbed ute.
Yeah.
Cupcakes, canapes.
Yeah, scones. Pull-aparts. That'd be good for a B&S
sweet
ball.
pull-apart.
Kebab-based pull-apart for the post.
But she likes
drinking.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet kebab.
Yeah, but, you know, she's a cheese fiend too, and I think she's got it. She's the queen of the CWA. She can't be all sweet. She can't be all savoury.
Everything's going to have cheese on it, though. Because she just throws cheese
in it. She's like, this isn't looking good. Throws cheese on it.
God, that's a way to judge people at a B&S.
It's like
Craig and his mates walk up.
Yeah.
She just dumps a bucket of cheese. Oh, God. She burned you, bro.
Yeah.
She curded you. Curded you. Way.
That's home brand. It's even worse, bro. Yeah.
She home branded you, man.
She home branded you cottage cheese.
All right. Okay, and I'm going to say this to the ladies in particular out there. Or, you know, anyone for that matter who are approached by very seedy men. I think the best way now to deal with them and shun them is to home brand them.
Yes.
And I want to make this a thing. So out there in clubs, I don't care. I want you to always carry a bag of home brand cheese. And, you know, you don't like the guy, comes up, sidles up, tries to do something a bit sleazy. Home brand is us.
Yeah. Cop that. It ain't no gooder for you.
You know, you get home brand grated cheddar-like.
Yes.
Not real cheddar.
Oh my God, it's the just no. What's even better, and it's also doubles as a weapon. The shelf block cheese, the Blue Craft block cheese.
Don't pay for craft.
Okay,
don't pay for
Go
craft.
for the home brand one.
Home brand, or you know. What was our sponsor? I can't remember what our sponsor was today.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. It was was it Louis? I can't remember. Anyway, moving on. Louis chicken. That's wrong. Yeah. Anyway, moving into the episode finally.
Yes.
So the signature was a cheese tear and share.
Yeah.
Yeasted bread. Mm-hmm. It had to be sweet or savoury, but it had to be designed to be pulled into individual portions, and you had 2 hours with which to do it.
Great. This is perfect. I really like this because not only are you thinking, like, you know, signature, you can play with flavours, but this is perfect for a morning tea, which I'm assuming after you've done this bake, it's about time for an early lunch.
It's about that time.
It's a brunch bake.
So, now Dimmy's was ricotta, mozzarella, spinach, bacon, and rosemary wreath. Now, they didn't...
Can't put that up on your door, though.
Well, I wouldn't.
At Christmas.
No, I really wouldn't.
Flies just fall off the nail.
Flies are going to over. No, they stay on the nail, but the flies. Okay. Now, they do warn about watery spinach, which I was concerned about too. And again, like, of all the ingredients where, you know, when it looks at the idea of fresh versus frozen, spinach is usually the one that, as everyone points out, you know, the frozen spinach is usually actually a lot of the time better in a lot of baked goods and a lot of cooking because of the fact that there's so much water in the fresh. And when it's been snap frozen, that water's been sort of taken out of it.
Well, it's easier to drain out of it. Like,
yes.
you let it defrost, and then you squish the the moisture out of it.
Yes, exactly. And look, for anyone who might be out there thinking they need to use matcha for colour, I'm not going to name anybody, but they're going to come up in the last bake. Just spinach water. Just
spinach water.
If I had to make a choice between a cup of matcha and a cup of spinach water, I'm sculling that spinach water.
Duly noted.
You should note that.
Duly noted.
I will push forward with the bit.
Okay.
You do have an idea. You know I'll push forward with the bit.
Yep.
Now, the way that Adrian said potatoes.
I know. It's like, Adrian, it's cheese week, not potato week.
I mean, I want it to be potato week.
Yeah.
I'm here for potato week. I want potato week.
AKA Irish week.
Just Irish week, yes. I mean, look, realistically,
you could do it.
I mean, British Bakeoff have done everything else and ruined it, and they don't seem to have a problem with destroying Irish culture. So why doesn't British Bakeoff do Irish Week and just soda bread? And what's the showstopper? The showstopper is fiddle-dee-dee potatoes. What does that mean? I don't know. You figure it out. It's the whole challenge. What are we doing? Fiddle-dee-dee potatoes.
It's soda bread with potatoes. Potato soda. Soda potato.
What's the technical this week? Potato famine. There's nothing. It's a basket with nothing in it. And just Paul Hollywood going, see? All right, moving on. Now, his was also truffle, manchego, and mozzarella. That was what Adrian went with for his flavours.
Delish.
Arvin, talking about the difficulties in sort of his kneading versus Elliot with bigger hands, having the technique to...
I know, Elliot's got some good... Like, I think even if Elliot was shorter and had smaller hands, he'd still have a pretty strong...
Elliot's used to having to try to grab onto things on a cruise ship while bucks and moves. And, he's...
holding on for dear life to the microphone as he's trying to belt out a
solo. Love, exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you.
He's trying to keep up, perform while keeping up with all the hijinks of the crew and new guests on
just
board.
Doing a tight 10.
Tight 10 on...
Tight 10 on a cruise ship. So, but what I loved was when Arvin turned around like, I can't really do all that, so Smeg is my friend.
Well done, Arvin.
Well done.
Just good
That's
promo.
Just paid for another series. Elliot.
Keep it up.
Now, Elliot was going with party pesto knots. I've seen people do these knots at parties, so, I'm like, yep, cool. Parmesan, mozzarella, gorgonzola, and basil.
Excellent. I think now, Arvin, you need to move forward with your promoing and maybe try and make some new lingo for the kiddies to use. Like if that's mid, you can be like, that's smeg. To me, it's like awesome. It's schmick. It's delicious. Like it's just the best. That's smeg.
That's I see. I would go. That's Lurpak baby.
Oh, that's Lurpak baby. That's also good.
Lurpak baby.
Okay.
It's smooth. It's creamy. It's rich. That's a code. That's a code in the club.
You're a salt flake babe.
He's Lurpak.
Okay.
He's smooth, creamy, and rich. There we go. But yeah, Elliot's pesto pastry, party pesto knots looked really good. Now, Dimmy decided that she wasn't going to use the proving drawer. She was going to use the sun.
Yeah.
Now,
I think was a great idea.
What I loved about this was, I think, first of all, it gave the camera team a really cool shot, which they were desperate for.
It was better than a safety pin.
Woman will get there. Woman walks over and puts bowl on stool and walks away again. And it also had trappings of woman leaving child at the door of the orphanage at Christmas time, but it's like a sunny Christmas.
This is the happier version. It's cottagecore version.
Because they came back.
Yeah, they came
and
back.
Dad came back too.
And
we'll talk about that in a minute. Mm-hmm. So Mel was making cheese and chive chips, but in a cinnamon roll with garlic and bacon.
Yum.
So like all of those flavors are like things I devour on a daily basis. Now Arvin was going with a Filipino style bake. I'm going to absolutely destroy the pronunciation of this. So everybody, let's get ready for Chris Ruins a Language.
Better than me.
Ensamanda, I believe, is how it was. It's the one with the parmesan and the buttercream and then salted duck egg on top with all the other flavors. Now, interesting call.
It was. I'm sure he had very strong faith in those flavor profiles, but
it jumps.
I think that if you want a sweetness in there, maybe not the icing, maybe something different, like a honey or a there's a different way to throw
and we'll get to it when they talk about it in the judging, but as they sort of both said, they could see where he was trying to go.
Like a honey cream cheese or something.
Yeah, because the flavours just seem to jump all over the place, and that doesn't seem to, But we'll come back to that anyway. Now, Lorena, Gouda, Parmesan, mozzarella, with a chili mango chutney. That sounded really damn good. Now, this is where we cut back to Dimmy.
Yes.
And
it was after proof pickup.
Yep.
The mum, she was joined by another proud dad who's at the school, and they're just having a little sunrise sunset moment of they grow up so fast.
Yes, Adrian just looks at me. They grow up so fast. So Molly then announces that she doesn't really make a lot of savoury stuff. She loves sweet too much. So, sweet bread with blackberry, ricotta, cottage cheese scrolls, basically.
Yum.
That all works.
And to be honest, thinking about the afterwards, there's a lot of savoury options, but everyone's going to go for the sweet because after you've had a bit of savoury, you want to Round
Now, the
that.
rest of the bake went pretty straightforward. The only two other things of note that happened in this
Yeah.
was the first thing that happened was where Lorena looked at Adrian's bake with his thing and went, wow, so big. And Adrian goes, I've never been told that. And the second and far more interesting thing, I think, for everybody was Arvin's multi-pizza cutter.
That was impressive.
Like, we've talked about this idea of whisk battles.
Yeah.
Then Arvin produces this multi-cutter.
Like, this is, like, I'm sure behind the scenes there is some kind of, like, cool kitchen gadget battle raging.
I love the idea they're daring each other.
Yes.
Like, they're now inventing things and going, well, I'm going to make this. I dare you to make this.
It's like they're going home to do some test bakes while also vigorously texting their most, like, handy builder kind of friends going, hey, you've got that 3D printer. This is what I need.
So the judging. Now, Lorena.
Yes.
Very enticing. They can see how fluffy the bread was. The chutney and the spice went well with the cheese. Darren, however, did say that he wanted more cheese. He wanted the cheese to be more of a star. And look, Darren's been consistent with this. This is one thing he has been consistent with. We've argued about consistency. The one thing Darren has been consistent about is when he talks about a flavour, he wants more of the flavour.
Yeah, it's like cowbell.
And he's said that the whole way through. In every bake, whenever he said, his main criticism to people has been, you're not giving me enough flavour. All right, really hit it if you're going to hit it.
Yeah.
Adrian, they said it was big enough to feed a family. The flavour was fantastic. The honey and the truffle was great, and it was very cheesy. Mm-hmm. It was slightly underbaked, but they did say it tasted good. Elliot's was inviting with the basil. They said they could taste all of the cheeses and that it had great flavour.
Just now imagining it like a welcoming basil at the opening of his bake.
I mean, it could be Basil Fawlty.
Yes. Or Elliot impersonating Basil Fawlty, but in a good way.
Yes, in a good way.
In a positive way.
Not the Germans.
No.
You started it. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. You invaded Poland. Anyway, Molly. Darren thought that they looked bright and generous. They said they had fantastic flavour, but unfortunately the bread was really under in the middle bit in particular where there'd been a bit of the egg. So the texture was chalky.
Yeah.
And they said they needed a bit longer to bake. They said, unfortunately, like everything else looked great. What Molly's problem was, and she did talk about this briefly, was that she was trying to get them out of the oven in time because she was covering hers in cream.
Yeah.
So they had to cool, which is, when we talk about people going on to Bakeoff, one of the things we always say that's really interesting is you have to have planned ahead in terms of what you're going to make and how that's going to work with time pressure.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for Molly's one there was she needed it to be cool to put
the cream on top. Yeah.
Speaking of that, Arvin's was too warm when the icing was applied, so as a result the icing had just sort of melted off it. Now, Darren said he sees where it was going, but didn't quite work. And Darren and Rachel both said the egg didn't quite balance with everything else, and it was a bit too salty, and it just sort of didn't quite work. Melissa did have a golden colour. They said it was a soft bread with a nice herb, but it was slightly under on the dough. However, they did say the flavour was excellent.
Yep.
And Dimmy, it looked inviting. Darren thought it was a good bread, cooked well with plenty of cheese.
Yep.
Rachel said that she was, of course, worried about how the spinach was going to go, but she probably shouldn't have worried that it came out really well.
Yep. Dimmy nailed it.
Yeah, like Dimmy and Elliot had a really good start. I thought that, and we'll talk a bit more about Dimmy as, we move towards, it's not a spoiler, you've watched the episode, for Dimmy getting Star Baker. This is definitely, for me, the first time we've really seen Dimmy step out.
Yeah. I thought she, today I felt, and it may be because we've hit that kind of part of the season where the time that we've got available and the number of bakers in the shed kind of evens out. So you get a little bit more. So you start seeing more of them. But Dimmy did look more kind of relaxed and calm. It was bordering on, when you see people like Ella and the other kind of bakers start to get into that kind of cool groove.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They start to settle in.
Yeah.
All right. So, the technical. Otherwise known as the challenge we normally don't worry about. This week, actually, I think it had a bit more of a bearing.
Yeah.
So we'll come, which was actually, again, nice to see. Go for gold. Do curdle. Give it a little jiggle.
Yeah. Look, there are some weeks when those kind of, hints are not forced. And, there are some weeks like this where you've just got to make it work. Yeah.
So, a 3 cheese pie. Now, it was vintage cheddar, parmesan in there, and cottage cheese. Now, in the intro, they hinted at the fact that you would have to make
the cottage cheese by curdling it. Yeah.
So yes, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now it's based on the I think it's the Västerbotten is what she said.
Yeah.
Which is the Swedish one of these. But as they went, twist.
Of course.
Drink because twist.
It's like, remember that phase, I don't know if it was like the early 2010s when everyone would be like, if something went wrong, you'd be like, plot twist.
Yeah, it's twist.
It's twist.
So they had to make their own cottage cheese. Now that was, you get the milk to the right temperature, then you've got to curdle it with the vinegar when it gets to the right temperature.
88 miles per hour. 88 degrees.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
But we do need curds.
Yes. Buttery pastry with the parmesan. Mm-hmm. And then you have to bake with the vintage cheddar. And you've got to get a wobble. And the reason you get the wobble is so the filling is not set too hard. So you need crunch on the base with the parmesan, wobble with the vintage cheddar, and then you need that soft, fluffy ricotta made.
Cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese that you've made, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. So.
And I think, if you've handmade cottage cheese, that's not what you're throwing at the B&S ball. No. You don't want to spend time on that. Like you really want to show whoever's been a jerk that you do not care, and they're the lowest of the low cheeses.
That's why it's got to be home brand. Not even home brand. You need worse than home brand.
I do like to think that then there's the opposite end, that there's a really good cheese you absolutely fucking love and have to not eat, that you throw at the person you really like.
Well,
we'll
get to that in a minute, because there's a question that was asked in the episode that I'm going to ask you, and I think it'll play into that.
All right.
So, we do, however, need to go over to our basketball correspondent. Not a phrase I was expecting to say.
Yep.
And yet here we are when Adrian said that he was alley-ooping his pastry in.
Adrian.
Kristie, discuss.
Adrian, sweet summer child. That's not an alley-oop. Like, there's plenty of shows. There's a great one on Netflix about, the Chicago Bulls and the Dream Team that you can go watch. Look, an alley-oop, you actually need an assist. Thus why there's an alley and an oop. So someone, say like your Dennis Rodman or your Scottie Pippen, will alley to you, and you, being the MJ of the team, grab that and dunk that, and that's the oop, okay? So in this sense, you just dunked.
You dunked or laid up?
I'd say it was a dunk because there was no bouncing, like a layup.
Yeah.
You run up to it, and then you want to like hit the corner of the square behind, or the angles behind it, and you basically bounce it off that into the hoop. That's what a layup is. This here was straight up dunk, or maybe a free throw. Could have been a free throw because you're standing on the line and you're just going straight in. It was nothing but net. It was great, but just get your basketball references right there, Adrian. And I think I will be less, caught up in
there are two things,
unnecessary things in life.
There are two things in this world that you don't want to test Kristie on in baking.
Tea?
One of them is steeping tea.
Yeah.
And the other one is basketball terminology for pastry.
I really like this self-discovery that I've had while watching Bakeoff.
You've had a journey.
I have. Things I didn't know would bug me, that do bug me.
Now, we did have a moment where everyone compared how golden brown their cases were. The answer was they were all golden brown.
Golden brown.
Then they had to make the cottage cheese. So, heat to 88.
Cottage cheese.
Yellow
because cottage cheese is just like the
that yawn was
blandest
inspired
cheese.
by cottage cheese.
Well, that's about as inspiring as cottage cheese really is.
I hate cottage cheese.
Oh, look, it just reminds me of fucking Weight Watchers. Like, oh my god, no.
Cottage cheese.
I'm not going to dredge up that. But
cottage cheese is the cheese you have when you don't want cheese.
It's the cheese you have when all cheese has just like you've entered the cheeseless dimension, and
Yes.
it's just cottage cheese. That's
I
it.
don't want a cheeseless dimension.
Has Molly come from the cheeseless? No, she hasn't, because she's got access to other cheeses. Maybe her pizzas are ordered from the cheeseless dimension, and there's no mozzarella. It's just cottage cheese. Just sad cottage cheese on a pizza.
No, I think she probably tries things like blue. Again, I think
It comes on a cauliflower base.
I think she's got a really large supply of something like blue at home.
Yeah.
I think that's like a warehouse.
Or maybe she comes from a lineage. Like she comes from a family who... Maybe she comes from the Castello family. You know, the blue Castello.
Maybe her family fought...
It's Molly Castello.
Maybe her family fought against the mozzarella family. Or maybe it's a family dynasty battle.
Oh, wow. It's like Romeo and Juliet, but it's Molly and mozzarella.
Cheese dynasty battles.
Yeah.
Like, there's... now I can see it now. Like...
Two fromagiers are like in...
Now, has she... Here's my question on that.
Yes.
Because she mentioned throwing cheese at things makes it better. And she did mention mozzarella. Has Molly taken the hated traditions of the past where you throw cheese at people to attack them?
Yeah.
And has she tried to turn it to love?
Yeah, or just like similar to the way tribal warfare is now sport. You know, she's just trying to make it more palatable for a modern era. You know, where, you know, you express your distaste or your admiration for a potential suitor with cheese, rather than attacking your enemies.
Tip cheese on them.
Yeah.
So,
I believe that's where the term drawn and quartered came from. It's like you get a wheel of cheese, which you've drawn from the shelf.
And you get a quarter
and
wheel.
you get a quarter wheel.
Anyway.
The Iron Maiden was just basically there to make Swiss cheese.
Look, what other good purpose is there, really? Okay, so, the question was asked.
You know how you'd make soft cream cheese? Any cheese in a trebuchet, just flung through the air.
The question was asked, I believe, of Dimmy.
And then when it ends, it splats and gets all creamy. Yes.
So the question was asked, I believe, of Dimmy.
Yes.
What kind of cheese would you be?
Ooh.
So, Kristie,
Yeah.
what kind of cheese would you be?
Oh, look, I'm just comedy cheese, really.
String cheese?
String cheese.
Spring cheese.
I'm just the
String
Cano cheese.
You are an American cheese whiz.
I'm cheese whiz. But if I could choose what cheese I would be, it would be an almost off brie, because that is the most delicious cheese you can just get from actual France. Not
fake France.
Not fake France. The real
Not
place.
Belgium.
Not Belgium.
Not fake France. Not Belgium.
Not these Franco-Prussian bullshitteries. not Quebec.
Definitely not Quebec.
Not Montreal. None of these.
No Quebecois.
No down in New Orleans from the French Quarter.
No fake France, and no Belgium.
Not Delhi, France either. That was horrible. That was a horrible chain.
That was not great.
Their
Their baguettes were absolutely terrible.
Rancid. They tasted rancid.
Yeah, they weren't real baguettes. Anyway,
they were banots.
so you would be that. So that you'd be that slight.
Oh, just runny, oozy. Like as soon as you cut me open, you just want to stick your tongue in and go. And I've just realised how that sounded.
Yep. Anyway,
moving right along.
Moving right along. So you'd be brie, although we're more likely to be
cheese whiz.
Cheese whiz.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Moving on.
Or string cheese, because that's fun.
Yeah.
You poke your finger in it and it goes to pieces.
Or what are the what's his cheese pull apart thing?
Oh,
yeah, the cheese strings.
Stringers. Oh yeah.
Give me a stringer.
Little baby bell.
Baby bell. You give me a baby bell.
Baby bell. Look, I'd be happy with any of those cheeses. Just a fun cheese. A raclette. Or is that you?
No, I wouldn't be a raclette.
You'd be a racletier.
No, I'd be pecorino.
Of course you could.
I'd be bitey and smug for absolutely no reason.
And go, Parmesan, really?
You went to Parmesan.
You went to Parmesan?
I'm right here.
I'm right here. Yeah,
you are low rent.
Yeah, you're a basic bitch. You want to...
So Lorena had no idea what cottage cheese looks like, and all I can say to you is disappointment, Lorena.
Yeah.
Disappointment is what cottage cheese
I wish
looks
I lived
like.
your charmed life, but I'm so sorry you came on this show that you were looking forward to, and they introduced you to cottage cheese.
Now, at this point in time, Mel was talking to her bakes and, well, like the universe in general. Just talking. What I can say is that all I can think of is while Nat was looking at her and wondering why, she was talking to like herself, production's going, keep going, we need footage. Yeah. So,
although I do like Nat, asking her to test if she was an imaginary friend or not. Like,
yeah,
was she in the drop dead Fred realm?
It's important that you check that every once in a while.
Phoebe Cates just...
Now, Molly had some slight sticking with hers, but did manage to get out of the tin. Lorena did lose a corner. Like, everything else of her seemed okay, but the corner came off.
But I don't understand, because you're supposed to put the thing on a diagonal. Why didn't you start at that corner? Just cover it up, Lorena.
Yeah, just simple.
Just go. Don't admit to your mistakes.
Well, she decorated it first, and we'll get to it. We'll get to Adrian in the last one trying the ultimate example of I meant that. So Molly, golden in colour, but a little bit blonde at the bottom. There were some cracks. The pastry was golden on the sides. The filling was fantastic, and they said the cottage cheese was a little bit softer as well. Elliot's golden crust, mushrooms, and cottage cheese well placed. Pastry was perfect. It was a fantastic pie. It looked great. It smelt great, and ate well. Ate well. Adrian, generous with the mushrooms. The cottage cheese looked creamy. The parmesan and the pastry was great. The filling was perfectly cooked, and they said it tasted smooth. Arvin, colour on the top was good, but the pastry had cracked in 3 or 4 different places.
Yeah.
It tastes good, but the mixture was a little bit overdone. The cottage cheese might have also been slightly too hot when he was making it.
Yeah.
Lorena, missing a corner. The parmesan came through. It was very crumbly. It was very tasty. The cottage cheese was a bit dry, but they said the rest was great. Mel, it looked a bit different, and it did. The mushrooms looked really flat. It just looked, it looked slightly off the whole way. The pastry was delicate. The filling had great flavour, but the whole thing was also slightly over. And Dimmy looked great. They could taste all 3 cheeses, and they said, it's a great job.
Yeah.
So the order was, from last to first, Mel, Lorena, Arvin, Molly, Dimmy, Adrian, and then Elliot wins the technical. I probably would have had Arvin behind Lorena. I thought that, Lorena lost the corner, but I thought the rest of it was...
Well, you read out what they both had, and it was very similar. But I think when you're in that mucky stage at this point, it can be.
You don't want to be at the back end.
You don't want to be at the back end at all. No.
No, exactly. Any of those would still be not great.
Yeah. G'day, folks. It's your favourite CWA ghost here, Maureen. When I was a young lass, we didn't have fun. We didn't have parties. I joke. It was just a birthday party or a wedding. Maybe Easter or Christmas. But you know what? I think we need to embrace these modern times and welcome the celebration of Halloween. That's right, folks. We are now holding a ghoulishly devilish bake sale. Devilish. A ghoulishly devilish bake sale. You can make that better, can't you? Yes. Okay. Here in the cemetery, where I'm buried in the churchyard. I just want to invite you all over. I've been cooking up some great things. The devil's mud cake, the devil's chocolate cake. That's nice. It's delicious. I've been able to use real devil this time. I met a lovely demon who put me onto this new ingredient, and I'm really pleased with its flavour. The other one, angel food cake, but I've made it like it looks like cockroaches. So it's nice and light and fluffy, but there's these little, they're not real cockroaches, don't worry, I wouldn't do that to you. I've just, it's a bit of chocolate, a bit of tempered chocolate on there, maybe a few rice bubbles as well, just to really give it the crunch. Yes, it's wonderful, it's delicious, I think you should come along. I accept money, I can't pick it up, so please bring the correct change. And I encourage you all to support your local CWA, even the deceased branches. This is the first of which I'm looking for new members. If you've got any recently deceased loved ones, love to have them a part of it, you know. If they don't know how to bake, that's perfectly fine. I can get them cutting sandwiches. It's not a problem. All right, folks, I'll see you at the bake sale. Happy Halloween! Woo!
So, the showstopper.
Yep.
Tiered cheesecake showstopper. Now, 2 flavours of cheesecake. you must have 3 tiers. You can make any kind of cheesecake you want.
When they said tiered cheesecake, I initially thought stacked, and I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good. They'll be sinking into each other.
I did like the fact that they were very clear that they didn't have to be a certain height, they didn't have to be a certain shape. They would like with some of the other ones they've had those rules. I like the fact this was just 3 cakes.
Yeah.
4.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And we cut back in where we get the line probably of the episode. I have been waiting my whole life for a cheesecake bake-off.
After hours of, labour, Mel's mother produces this beautiful, perfect little child. She goes to embrace it. Instead of crying and reaching out for her mother, she hears, "I one day want to be on Bakeoff." The doctor fainted away straight. She's like, her mother's like, but don't...
I love a bit of cheese.
Cheese.
Can I just say,
yeah,
for anyone who knows us, the biggest surprise in this episode is we've gotten this far
without doing the Kim Beazley cheese.
Without doing a 2007 comedy bit.
Yeah.
From the Get This radio show with Tony Martin, which was Kim Beazley
wanting a cheese-powered economy. And look, this is what a cheese-powered economy could look like.
It's delicious.
It's delicious.
Clean energy. One of these days I'll be in a school, patting a kiddie on the back and saying to him, "Little boy, when you get older, have some cheese."
Look, Molly from her Fromagerie Dynasty would, totally, be at the 1%er in the cheese-based economy.
The Fromagerie Dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay, so the corner chat came back. Dimmy and Elliot, good. Molly and Mel, boo. They didn't mention Arvid in that, which I thought was interesting. He had 2 bad bakes in a row.
Yeah.
And they did mention Molly. And Molly had a couple of difficult ones too. You can mention more than 2.
Yeah.
I think the top 2 were clear. I thought it was just really interesting.
But perhaps they had discussed it, but for time and editing purposes, just break it down to the the 2 rather than like commenting on every person there.
Now, they weren't going to comment on everybody, but they always mention a couple. But I thought that one, I was just choice. That was my question. That's my question.
Yeah.
Now, more importantly, drink. Because the safety pin is back.
Jesus fucking Christ. I was really hopeful in this episode. We had that beautiful...
It's been flying.
We had cockatoos, we had lorikeets, we had beautiful outdoor evening shots of the shed. And
safety pin bunting.
We get safety. I don't know. Okay, so the shed is supposed to have this beautiful homemade cottagecore, what's it called? Country fair kind of, or country fete feel to it. Now, yes, country fetes are rustic and they have a lot of, handmade stuff and old things about, but there's always care put into
the CWA would never allow that.
I know. If you had a safety pin that was seen, it's just not on. It would be
Marge
tucked
is going to come over there and kick you.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps they had a bunting break at some point, an accidental bunting break, and they had to put the safety pin up.
They probably did.
But you don't need to highlight that.
No.
You keep to the traditions.
Exactly.
In this very traditional podcast that we do.
Why did you suddenly get old at the end there?
I'm sorry. My name is Maureen, and I'm the 17th president of the Lithgow CWA, chapter 39.
Oh, we heard you. We heard you before, didn't we?
You did. I'm deceased, and I've just come to possess your lovely wife to comment on this. So that's why you'll hear this voice from time to time.
Okay.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing Molly's reign.
Now, can we have Maureen? Can I just have Kristie back, please?
Of course. I've got some pumpkin scones to go check
Anyway,
on.
thank you, Maureen.
Wow.
That was new.
Yeah, it's very interesting having the ghost of a CWA leader.
Yeah, that was...
inhabit the body. I suddenly get the urge to go make some preserves.
That was fascinating. Anyway, Mel. So Mel went with the cosmopolitan
No
style.
knowledge on how to do this, just the urge.
Mel had a cosmopolitan style theme, not the drink, just the cosmopolitan city feel. New York cheesecake with blueberry compote, and then a Spanish Basque with torched meringue.
Do you think she's been watching too much Sex in the City, and that's why these choices came through?
I mean, she could have really called this just the Meanwhile Samantha.
Yes.
But
it did go the way of Carrie's relationships, didn't it?
It did. So she was baking the Basque first, then turning it down for the New York cheesecake, so that because they cook at different temperatures and the Basque needs to burn. We had a couple of attempts at a Basque in there. Lorena did another one.
Yeah.
A really tricky one to get right because you've got to have that burn. And so that's a really big call, and probably, I mean, if it works, then you're going to fly. Yeah. But especially, we've talked about this point in the competition, you want to be doing stuff that's just going to get you to the next week.
Yes.
And you've got to push, but by the same token, especially if you've got a star baker in the back pocket, probably dial it back a little bit and just hit the flavours really hard rather than the Basque. But we'll come back to that. Now, Elliot went with a French theme. Tartatan with caramelised toffee centre. And then the second was a chocolate and coffee cheesecake.
Look, solid flavours. And I think it's nice having that differentiation between the coffee and chocolate, like, you know, that heavier, denser flavour.
What was also interesting with Elliot's was that it started off, it was a tartatan, obviously, so you've got, you know, the apples and stuff like that. But what I also really appreciated was by the end of it, there was 15 billion things on the top of that cheesecake.
It was like you know those cafes that do the overdone milkshakes that you can't drink without first fucking eating and spilling the top of it everywhere?
Well, you see, what I was thinking more in line was, do you remember when I did the rebaked with Nerman and Aaron, and Nerman suggested that he was going to make Dante's Inferno?
Yes.
Yeah, it was very much like a white version of Dante's Inferno on top of that. So we do need to still get that, by the way. Just putting it out there, Nerman. I know you're listening. So where's the Dante's Inferno? Anyway.
Where's the Inferno?
Where's the Inferno? Now, at this point, Adrian introduced his band. Race Against the Machine. I suppose it depends on what sort of machine you're up against and what the race is. I mean...
Yes, but I'd like to think that it's kind of like bake you, I won't do what I tell you. Like just bake you, I won't do what you tell me. I did come up with songs for him at the time, and I've completely forgotten them all now. Don't worry, I'm sure you've got a whole
throw them in the comments
now.
Throw them in the comments.
Throw them in the comments.
I'm not going to go with them now. Throw them in the comments. Yeah. That's a game for you at home. What are the Race Against the Machine?
Grilling in the name of.
I mean, that I would feel that would probably be the obvious one. Give us some other songs by Race Against the Machine. Look, we're talking Race Against the Machine because I don't want to go to the next baker.
Matcha. Chris lost his shit right here.
Arvin?
I don't think you can chipmunk your way out of this, Chris.
Arvin! Matcha.
Yeah.
Look.
But look, there was ube and sesame to,
Ube and black sesame. Fantastic. Wonderful. Beautiful. Job well done. Anyway, let's go back to the matcha. Because they spent a lot of time... I'm starting to wonder if they're not trolling me. Because they spent a lot of time...
the world is revolving around you. Oh,
they spent a lot of
time... You are a cisgendered white man.
Exactly. I'm a white male aged between 18 to 49. Everybody listens to what I have to say, no matter how stupid. So...
Oh, I know.
More importantly...
Sorry to our listeners.
A white male is talking. So
glad I have ADHD.
I don't know how they do it. I really don't. That's hard. Anyway, when they were describing it, like the ube, they just talked about, oh yeah, it's ube and black sesame. That'd be great. They were talking about the rich, luscious, creamy texture of the matcha. I'm like, are you laying on thick?
Yep.
This just feels like you're trolling. Then they cut to Adrian.
If only they were waxing lyrical about spinach water.
Wouldn't that be so much better? Anyway, I think spinach, they were talking about the earthy notes of the matcha. You know what to give you earthy notes? Spinach water. Do you know how earthy the notes would be in a spinach water?
Honestly, I don't want to know.
I could release spinach water in a bottle and make a fortune
But
at Jim's.
I didn't make the claim that I'd scull matcha over spinach water, because I just wouldn't choose either.
Yeah, but see, you're not living your best life if you're not having to make a choice between matcha and spinach water. I mean, what's the point of existence if you can't make a decision there? Anyway,
If you can't scuba.
Exactly, if we can't scuba, what's this all been about? Adrian, today we're headed to outer space, at which point he announced just making a passion fruit and a blackcurrant bavwa. We love a good bavwa.
We do like a good buff one. I really liked his take on this. I mean, it was beautiful texturally.
And kudos to you, Adrian, for going for a mirror glaze on a cheesecake.
Yep.
I mean, bold.
I mean, Arvin did as well, but you know, you are prejudiced against that particular mirror glaze.
I don't see, you don't
see the green.
You know how Stephen Colbert, when he was doing his jokey Stephen Colbert character, was like, I don't see race, I don't see color. Mm-hmm. I don't see matcha. Okay. I'd like to not see matcha. I wish you didn't like. I just pretend that he only made one cake. So Molly.
Yeah.
Now, I do actually want to go through Molly's a little bit, because Molly said that this was tea versus coffee. And that, well, you only drink one. No.
Look, that's a very 2000s. That's a very naughty...
That's a very CWA
take on it. Joyce, she went to coffee. Like, she was a tea lady all the way and then went to coffee. And we were all like, what are you doing, Joyce?
Maureen would not be happy.
No, she's not. I really am not.
Hello, Maureen.
Hello. Just came here to because we're speaking about my protege, Molly.
Yes.
And I just want to say, Molly, keep up the good fight. Keep the people divided between coffee and tea. Because, if we're going to fight about anything, that's all we should be fighting about. All these other wars, not important. Let that go. Just let that shit go. And just bring it on down to the hot beverages that you enjoy daily.
Thanks, Maureen.
You're welcome. Right. Peace. That's how peace will be gotten in the Middle East.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
Anyway, so...
Okay.
Hi, Kristie. So,
hi.
Earl Grey and strawberry.
Yes.
And a coffee and honeycomb crunch. Mm-hmm. Again, apparently it's a competition. Which did lead me to one of my favourite Buffy lines from Giles in season 3, where Xander comments about the fact that he's breaking a perfectly good stereotype by drinking coffee. And Giles goes, tea is calming, I want to be tense. So, Lorena, she also went with a Basque with blueberry jelly and then a vanilla with a fresh berry.
Yeah.
Lemon truffles on top and also with a praline with lemon curd.
Yes, hers didn't get as burnt as it needs to be.
No, they both had issues with that. So we'll come back to that in a minute, because that was the other issue. Dimmy went with... Now, Dimmy... We were worried that Dimmy was going to floor this.
There's too much going on.
There's a lot going on. Apple crumble with custard profiteroles, and then a raspberry and white chocolate ring with fruit inside it.
Her profiteroles looked amazing with the toffee on top.
That apple crumble...
Yeah.
Apple... 15 out of 10 would eat.
Yeah.
Like, that one was just superb.
At this point, I'm like, give her Star Baker or I walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Adrian took out one of his jelly rings for one of his bavwa, at which point it looked like something that B. Dylan Hollis would have made from 1937.
Yes.
A hot dog ring from 1937.
This is a Depression era.
Gelatin!
It's a dessert.
Now I put in floof powder. Anyway. Now, Molly was also making profiteroles at this point. Elliot was doing macarons. Everyone was making something else. Apart from poor Mel, who was just struggling with the baking time and could not get the thing to burn.
Yeah.
So then Adrian turned his first bavwa out. And it stuck.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And Adrian just went, that is so sad. So sad looking. Can we cover it? At which point he got the mirror glaze and just poured.
Look, what he should have done is just said, is put a little black dot somewhere and gone, look, it's going past a black hole.
Well, what I love...
it was out of space.
So this is where Adrian...
Serve it with purpose.
This is where Adrian did show some Bakeoff nows.
Yeah.
So he just started going really rustic with everything and went steering into the skid and was like, it was supposed to be like that. That's what I was going for. Chaotic universe.
You know.
So the judging. Dimmy. Looked generous and inviting. One was very bright and contrasted with the deeper one.
Yeah.
The white chocolate was well balanced. The apple crumble was superb. The biscuit, the caramel was sensational, and they just said divine. Adrian, great concept. Unfortunately, it didn't work as he wanted. The flavours of the peach were great, but unfortunately, the construction wasn't sound. The black currant was explosive and well balanced. They said that one in particular was fantastic. Arvin, they said it looked professional. The matcha melted in the mouth. The ube and black sesame one, the toasty nature of the sesame was really good. They said the ganache was a little bit soft, but overall it was still really good. Mel, they said the New York cheesecake was really well made, but a bit one-dimensional because they said it was sweet and then the topping was sweet.
Yeah.
They also had the problem that the Basque, they said the inside was creamy and that was really good, but as Darren noted, the burn wasn't to a Basque cheesecake level, which they knew. Like Mel already knew that. Lorena, same thing. The berry cheesecake was delicious. The set was slightly under. The crust, however, was great. The Basque was smooth and it melted, but again, needed more burn.
Feel the burn.
Molly, the Earl Grey works.
What are they doing in the Basque region of Spain? Whoops, I left that in a bit too long. Tastes great.
It's just hot.
Yeah.
Berry cheesecake was delicious, but the set was slightly under. The Earl Grey worked well with the strawberry, but the base needed longer. Good texture. The coffee, the chocolate, and the honeycomb was great, and the coffee was full-bodied. However, Darren didn't think the concept worked overall. He thought the two cakes clashed. And again, if she's doing it as a versus, they're probably going to clash, and that was probably going to be a problem, like in terms of the concept. Elliot, they said it was very complex in a very good way. The whipped cheesecake was super light, worked perfectly. The apple, the caramel, and the cheese all went well. The chocolate and the coffee had a great flavour, and there was a good contrast of the crunchy base with the creamy bitter. Darren thought the coffee one was a bit too rich for him. Rachel seemed to really enjoy it, though. So that's your lot. And then we go to the judging, and it was between Elliot and Dimmy. Dimmy gets Star Baker.
Yep, well earned.
Absolutely well earned. And unfortunately, as much as we absolutely love her, Mel, it was the right call.
Yeah.
It was the right call. Disappointing to see Mel go home. She at least got her Star Baker that we think she should have got.
Yeah.
And she seemed to have an absolute blast. So,
oh look, her lifelong dream has been fulfilled. The only thing I'm worried about now is like,
where to?
Where to? There's going to be a glitter crash now.
More mountains to climb.
Exactly. Like she's got to work out what she does with this phase of her life now.
She has to find somebody else that loves vanilla. Find someone who loves vanilla as much as Darren, and you're sweet. You're set for life. So that's going to do us for Cheese Week.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for your feedback. We really enjoyed doing this. So until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we'll catch you all later.
Oh, Kim, I said a statue of baby cheeses, not a statue of baby cheeses.